the first verse of the Tao Te Ching, the Tao Te Ching, arguably my favorite book ever, is the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao. I'm giving you different versions of it. And the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. The Tao that can be spoken, the Tao that can be named is not the true Tao. So these are just slightly different variations of it. And I'm going to give you an example here that will make this clearer to you. This statement, the Tao that can be named or the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao, is not the true Tao. When you go to a restaurant and you sit down and they usually will bring you the menu, right? And I think I got some watermelon here. Some watermelon juice remains. Okay, so when you go to a restaurant, you sit down, they bring you the menu, right? Now the menu's got everything that they have back in the kitchen. So you scroll through the menu and you check out the different foods they have, and then you point your finger at one or more dishes, right? And you make a decision. All right, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna get this. So let's say you have order 3 different things, right? Then you go up to the counter or the waiter comes and you say, well, I'd like this, and that. And what happens is you give them back the menu, all right? Unless you're gonna order again, then you just give them back the menu and they'll take it from you. And you sit there and you wait for your food to arrive. And when the food arrives, you sit down and you eat. You experience that which you have used the menu to order, to bring to you so you could experience it. So what I'm trying to say here is the menu and the actual experience of eating are 2 different things, okay? The menu is spoken, it's labeled, right? It's got labels, this dish and that dish, and they got names to them, right? They got names. And yeah, that's the words, that's the spoken word. The words are labeling things, they're useful for human beings to interact with one another. They're useful to categorize certain things and make life more convenient. They're useful to communicate certain things. But when it comes to experiencing the Tao, words are a poor instrument to do that. In fact, you really can't describe an experience, okay? I mean, when you're eating that food, if that food is really good, all you could say is, right? And then maybe you'll say, oh, that's so good, right? And if it's really good, if the food is really, really good, even saying that's good is sometimes out of the question because you're just immersed fully in the experience of the food, enjoying the food. And even a more powerful example of that is orgasm, right? If you're having a really good orgasm, you can't really say anything. I think in French it's called something petit, the orgasm, which translates to little death or something of that nature. Because you experience a form of ego death, right? You experience a form of ego death when you're having an orgasm, and so you can't, the most you can do is you can scream or, just express that joy of experiencing the orgasm, and you just scream or, you're not really saying anything. You can't say anything. The more pleasurable the experience is, the less words you have for it. Now, you may come back from the orgasm and try to describe it, but you've already fell out of the this transcending, merging experience. Okay, the more and more you merge with the Tao, the less and less you feel even the need to speak about it. In fact, the more and more you're in a state of merging, I think at some point, my opinion is at some point of merging, you cannot even say anything really. It's impossible to say something. In fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and say that speaking and experiencing the Tao, merging with the oneness, with the Tao, are mutually exclusive, meaning they can't happen at the same time. And to the degree that the deeper you're immersed in the Tao, the less and less you speak. And when you're fully immersed with the Tao, there are simply no words. There are simply no words to describe the experience, because you are experiencing the experience, and there is no need to speak. In fact, it's not even possible to say anything. It's not impossible to speak. So when you're experiencing that food that you order from the menu, and if it's really good, the most you can say is right? You become at loss for words. If you tried something really good, you have no words to describe it. You have, it's just, how do you describe it? How do you describe an orgasm? Oh, it's so good, right? Okay, well, what else, right? How do you describe a really, 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 really delicious meal? Like really delicious, right? You can try to use something. Oh, it's perfectly, the spices mix so well together. It's like, but that doesn't really explain it, does it? Right? You can try, but really, until you experience something, you're not gonna be. Words are a poor instrument. Now, if you explain something to someone that experienced it, what happens if they've experienced? So if you try to explain orgasm, like a really transcending orgasm to somebody, if they've themselves had a really transcending orgasm, and you try to explain it to them, the only reason they might actually understand you based on your words is because those words are triggering something in that person's experience in which they can remember the experience. So I guess words can remind you. They're good reminders. They can remind you of certain experiences, okay? When we speak about God, when we speak about transcendence, when we speak about, oneness, merging, these things can trigger a part of you that experience these states of oneness and merging and transcendence, and that's where words can be helpful. But even once those words trigger that experiential feeling inside of you, then they become no longer necessary. Exactly same as the menu. Once you've ordered the menu, once you've had the menu in front of you and you've read it and you've ordered, you give it back. That's it. It's not needed anymore. You don't need to look at the food. And when you're experiencing the food, what does it matter if it's called this or that? What does it matter when you're eating something? Let's say you're eating hummus, right? I particularly like hummus. I think a lot of people do. Does it really matter when you're eating it and it's really good? Does it really matter that it's called hummus? Arabic is hummus. Does it really matter? Is it relevant? I can call it dog shit. How about that? But it's still the same thing, right? Doesn't matter if I'm eating hummus or dog shit. It's the same thing. It's an experiential thing, right? Whether it's called dog shit or hummus, or if it's nameless, at the point of you eating it, at the point of you experiencing it, it doesn't really matter anymore, does it? It doesn't matter. The labels are there because you know what it is also. This experience that we're having right now is quite a dense experience, right? It's third density. It's quite dense, and we need at this particular time in our evolution as humans, we need to communicate constantly to each other using words, how we're feeling, what do we think about the world, what our perception is. We need to constantly communicate that because that's just the way it is right now. There comes a point in human evolution, in the evolution of collective humans on planet Earth, we no longer really need to communicate all that much. It may be simple, small words, and at some point it just becomes total telepathy because we communicate to each other through our feelings. So at some point in human evolution, I'll be able to tell you how I feel by simply sending you the feeling. So if I'm feeling sad, let's say, and I can just send you that, and you can understand me empathically by feeling what I'm feeling. You see, and if I'm feeling joyful, I can just send you the joy, and you can experience it. And now I don't need to tell you how I'm feeling. You experience exactly how I'm feeling. Okay? And as humans evolve and evolve and evolve, as consciousness evolves on the planet, there will be less and less need for communication using words. Okay, it's just going to become less and less needed. But in the meantime, it is an integral part of the human experience, right? And I really think that it's a good idea to hone your speaking skills. Okay, I really think it's a good idea to hone your speaking skills. I think it's a good idea to learn different languages. I'm currently learning Spanish. I'm a little too late, seeing that we've been here for 8 or 9 months. But you know what? I do feel somewhat crippled when I can't speak the language here. You know, sometimes I want to talk to the locals. I've made friends with the locals and I just want to talk to them and, you know, get to know them more. But I can't. I feel crippled. So, of course, I'm not beating down words here and saying, well, all right, don't, you know, try not to speak. I'm saying is recognize them for what they are and don't worship words. Don't place all the significance on words. Rather, place the significance on experience. Experience, right? Experience. When you experience something beautiful, like you look at a beautiful sunset and you're on top of a mountain, or a beautiful sunrise, or just the view of mountains, what do you say to that, guys? How do you explain that? You can't explain that. Yeah, people take out their cameras and they take a video or they take a photo because they want to show the world. Because yeah, a photo and a video will actually communicate to others. They will communicate the experience better than speaking about it. You see? But even then, you know, what picture does it do justice to a really beautiful view? You just kind of look around and you're just like, oh, wow. And where do you feel that beauty inside? Feel yourself the next time you really behold something beautiful. Where do you feel that? Wow. You feel that right here in your body, in your body, in the temple, in the vehicle. This vehicle is there for you to experience this reality, to experience the Tao in its manifestations in this reality, in this planet Earth, in this time, space, point. You see? So, you know, remember that the most joyful moments, the most transcending moments, the most merging moments where you merge with nature, you merge with another person, you merge with the food you're eating. Remember that those experiences, you know, you don't, in the moments of experiencing them, you don't have any words to explain them, really. You see? And that's what merging is. That's what oneness is. Words begin to lose their importance, and in those moments of transcendence, there is nothing to speak. There's no words to describe it. You're in the experiential field. You're immersion. You're merging with the Tao in that moment, right? Before you come down to this world of density and duality, in which we use words to label things, because yeah, that's just where humans are at their evolution right now, and that's the way it is. It's just the way it is. It's not bad, it's not wrong, it's not right. I advocate you learn different languages, and I advocate you hone your speaking skills, because you know, for us to communicate things to our fellow humans, and for us to even communicate things to ourselves in this particular manifestation that we're in, yeah, words are necessary in a way right now. Okay, I need to explain this stuff to you guys, right? And I need to explain to myself also. All right, but it's good to just remember that do not mistake the food for the menu. That's it. Just simple, right? Simple example that really helps get this message across. Don't mistake it. Imagine you started eating the menu, right? Imagine you order the food and then the waiter's like, okay, and starts to take the menu, and you're like, no. You push the menu like this and you start eating the menu. Right? Pretty absurd. Okay, and what if the food never came to you? You'd be disappointed, right? Because you didn't experience that moment of, right? Of that momentarily merging. Of course, I suggest there are much healthier ways of getting those merging moments, and food is probably on the lower end of it. Okay, it really is. But it's a good example. We can all relate to it. Um, Ironically, food, if you're eating it like, if you're indiscriminatory about what you're eating and you're eating every day, yeah, that it ultimately it will mess up your temple, and then you will have less and less merging experiences. Of course, that's a different video. Different degrees of pleasure and different degrees of higher pleasures, lower pleasures, etc. Maybe I'll make a video on it soon. Maybe I will. It's a good topic. Higher pleasures versus lower pleasures. Maybe I will make a video on it, so keep looking out for it. But yeah, don't mistake the menu for the food. All right, the Tao that can be spoken. It's not a. I don't think it's a coincidence that it's the first verse in the Tao Te Ching and the most popular and the most, the most famous, because it sort of lays it down for you. Hey, don't get stuck. Don't get hung up on words. Don't get hung up on speaking. Don't get hung up on labeling things. Remember that the state of transcendence is an experiential state, and it's very blissful. And it's blissful. Oneness is bliss. Okay, oneness is bliss. The Hindus say that the nature of self is Satchit Ananda, absolute knowledge, absolute existence, absolute bliss. Okay? Okay, alright, so special thanks to our Patreon for your support. Special thanks to the donors via Patreon, via PayPal as well. If you're interested to support this channel via one-time donations, $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million at a very minimum is accepted only. I'm kidding, guys. Anything is appreciated. I love you guys, and yeah, until next time, may the force be with you.